Hey kids, I am going to pick up today where we left off on Eagle Song last time. So last time, all I did was I gave you a little intro to what we're going to be doing, and all I did was read page 7. Now, yes, it was like page 1, but in the book, it's numbered page 7. That's why you'll see in the videos, it starts on 7. So I'll reread that part again to you today because it was just a small chunk, and then I'm going to read to page 10. So 7, 8, 9, 10. You're going to hear 4 pages today. And then I'm going to move, and as you can see, I have some questions written behind me that you're going to answer. They're going to be your assignment. You have like a day or so to answer them. I'm really not too concerned. All I do ask is that don't watch the next video of me reading until you answer and submit these questions. Because I want to make sure we're all on the same page in this whole analyzing fiction little mini unit that we're doing. When I do finish and you hear the questions and I would suggest just opening your email at that time and typing in your answers and sending them to me, because then it's fresh in your mind. What you also should do is you should pause the video when you are about to write your answers, and you can maybe flip back so that you can see what the question actually was, so you know how to restate it. I know that everything is a little bit different right now, but please don't forget, like, that's how we should be answering things, not starting our sentences with because, or he, or it. We want to be as thorough as we can. All right? So, again, I'm going to reread page 7. There is one picture here. I'll just show it to you now. This book does have a few pictures. All right, so here we go. Shay Khan, chapter 1. Hey, Chief, going home to your teepee? Danny Bigtree clenched his fists, but kept walking. The November wind was cold against his face. It blew his long black hair over his eyes. He thought again of cutting it short. If he asked his mother to cut his hair, she might look at him in the way that she had. She wouldn't tell him no. Even though her eyes might question his decision, he knew she would cut it if he asked. But he knew, too, that even with short hair, he'd still be noticed. The other boys would still say things like that. That's how it always was here in Brooklyn, especially if you were different. It would do no good to say, as he had once said to them back in September, "I'm not a chief. We're Iroquois, and we never lived in teepees. We lived in longhouses a long time ago, and now I live in an apartment building." They'd just laugh again. Then Tyrone and Brad would ask him where his war pony was. None of the boys followed him. They went back to their basketball game. Danny stopped at the corner and looked back to watch them play. He wasn't really interested in basketball, but the way they played, it almost looked like fun. Some of them were really good, especially Tyrone. While Danny watched, Tyrone bounced the ball, cut around 2 of the other boys, jumped up and threw the ball in the high, long arc. It swished down through the basket. Brad, Tyrone's best friend, came over, and the 2 boys slapped their palms together in a high five. Danny sighed. He'd never played much basketball on the reservation. Lacrosse was his game, but nobody here played lacrosse. Danny found himself thinking again of what it had been like up at Akawasani, the wide St. Lawrence River. He knew it was so polluted from the factories on the Canadian side that no one could fish in it anymore, but in his memory, it was beautiful. Akawasani. Fields and woods to play in, lots of other Indian kids who looked and talked the way he did. Akawasani. The name was so much better than Brooklyn. Akawasani meant the place where the partridge drums. He didn't know what Brooklyn meant. There had been plenty of reasons to leave Akawasani, though. No jobs was one. It was because of the lack of employment that men like his dad traveled all over the country to do iron work. When his mom had finished her social work degree and had been offered the job at the American Indian Community House in Manhattan, she hadn't hesitated. It would be a better life, she'd promised. So far for Danny, it hadn't been. He went down into the subway entrance, and when he was on the train, he closed his eyes. That way, he wouldn't know if anyone was looking at him. If he kept his eyes closed long enough, he could imagine himself riding on the back of an eagle that would take him away from Brooklyn. It would take him away from schools and tenements and people who made fun of him because he wasn't the same as them. That's where I'm going to stop. That's page 10. Okay? Here are your 2 questions. Okay? Number 1, what misunderstandings do the children in Danny's school have about the Haudenosaunee? Remember, I wrote Haudenosaunee. You should know that that's another name for Iroquois, okay? How is life in Brooklyn different from life in Akwesasne? Okay, so you have to show the difference. All right, so again, what misunderstandings do kids in Danny's school have about the Iroquois or Haudenosaunee? Same thing. And how is life in Brooklyn different from life in Akwesasne? Okay, the narrator did a good job of telling you what life in Akwesasne was like. Take a look at these. I'm going to move away. Okay, you could pause the video if you wanted to. And now would be a good time to go ahead and just answer the questions now. All right, there they are again. Misunderstandings and how's life different? Okay. Put them in an email, send them off to me, and we'll pick up once I get all your answers. Thanks, guys.